Hello, my loves. I promised myself that I would not let 1 month go before posting another video. Actually, full disclosure, I said 2 weeks, but then, life happens. But last time I told you that I want to give you guys like a little life update, and we're gonna speak about the past to bring us to this moment right now. So there will be a trigger warning because I will be talking about like physically, mentally abusive relationships. So that's not something you want to, listen to this morning. Skip ahead, it's fine. But so I want to talk about like how me and Frank met, and then I also want to talk about spotting like red flags in a relationship and then also recognizing like green flags. So if you've been here for a while, they're just walking around, they don't care. If you've been here for a while, I've spoken about my past and how I was in an abusive relationship. I don't want to get too much details into it, but it was physically, emotionally abusive. I was in it for like 3 years, and I thought that I healed from it because I don't really think about it as much anymore. Like it's not something that I try to like dwell on because it's part of my past. I think it's made me who I am today. Not giving him any credit for that because I swear to God, one time he made a joke like, oh, if because of me and everything you went through, you discovered yoga and shit. And I'm like, no, despite of you, like, you idiot. But anyways, so that's that. But I thought that I like healed from it. And then looking back, yes, I healed from the trauma of it, but it also stopped me from noticing like little red flags in a relationship because I had the mentality of like, well, it's not that bad. And I don't want to speak bad about my ex boyfriend because not the first one, the second one, because we were not compatible at all. But it doesn't mean that he wasn't a good person. He just wasn't my person. Like, I am someone that suffers from anxiety. And one of the ways that I try to like block it off is like, if I have to be somewhere at a certain time, I make sure that I will arrive there 20 to 30 minutes earlier than I have to. Like, case in point, I live really far from my classes now, and my commute is like 2 hours, but I make sure that I give myself enough time because I do not want to be commuting and stressing out of like, oh my God, like, I don't need that in my life. But my ex, he didn't care about being late anywhere. And I have a memory that we had to go to, I think it was like a birthday party or a baby shower. I don't know what it was, but we were late, and he is on the sidewalk of my building like wrapping up the gift because we're so late, like we are just rushing, and I hate that feeling. And that brought out the worst in me because I was always anxious. We would never arrive somewhere and like be happy because I was always upset. And then he would say something like, "Oh, you're upset. You get angry so fast." And I'm like, "But do you see what's causing it?" Like, it didn't work. And I guess because I was in my 40s already at this point, I'm like, well, and this is my mentality. He doesn't hit me. He doesn't like emotionally abuse me, but that doesn't mean that he's the person for me. Like, I was ready to settle in this because I thought this was it for me. Like, I'm 40, I was like 40, 41 at that point. I'm like, this is as good as it gets for me. And even though he broke up with me, I was still clinging on to it because I'm like, no, 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 we can make this work. We can make this work. And he kept saying like square peg, round hole. And I'm like, no, 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 we can make it work. And I hate to say that because I feel so pathetic saying that, but that's that. So all that to say, those are red flags. Little red flags, freaking Macy's balloon red flags. Red flags are red flags. But now we're going to talk about the green flags, and this is where it gets good. So after that breakup, I think I took like a year off, maybe. I want to say a year. And I went on so many bad dates. Like I was on Bumble, I was on Hinge, and I just kept going on dates, and they were so bad to the point that I would make most of my blind dates, not blind dates, my first dates be like at Bear Burger, because I was like, you know what? The date might be shitty, but at least I'm going to enjoy the meal. And I could just imagine the waiters that work there, like, oh, there she goes again, another date, whatever. But I didn't let that deter me, because if you do online dating, it's a numbers game. Like you just have to keep going. It's like applying for jobs. Like just keep doing it, just keep doing it. And it was Thanksgiving. Yes, Thanksgiving. I remember because yeah. And I got a message on Bumble that someone super swiped me, and I had no idea what that meant. I'm like, what the fuck is a super swipe? The best way I can describe it, I remember like Googling it, and it's like someone's highly interested in meeting you. But I compare it to like being at a bar and someone buys you a drink to get your attention. So Frank super swiped me. He lured me though, because one of his pictures was him doing tree pose, and I'm like, oh my god, he does yoga. No, no, he doesn't. But whatever. Maybe that's a red flag. He lied. But anyways, so we connected on Bumble. Instant connection, like even through like text messages. I remember he had to like he didn't have to, but he was going on a date that weekend, and I remember wishing him luck on the date and hoping secretly that it wasn't a great date, but he never went on it, which was great. And we spoke via text, and then we started FaceTiming each other. And it was every time I describe this relationship to someone, I always say it is so easy, because it's ridiculously easy. Like we get along so well. And I think it's because we're both cancers. And I think our communication is amazing because of that. Because if you're ever been around a cancer, we feel all the feels. And like me, I need to like talk about it. And thankfully, he listens. And I remember one of the first things he ever said to me was like, if what was it, like, if you tell me what you need, I will do my best to make sure I can do it for you, something like that. Pretty sure it was a little bit more eloquent than that. But so yeah, we spoke on FaceTime. Then we were planning our first date, and he wanted to go ice skating. I don't do ice skating. I have a fear of ice skating. I think that either I'm going to fall down and bust my head open, or I'm going to fall down, have my hands out like on the side, and someone's going to cut my fingers off with their blades. I watched way too many horror movies, but whatever. So he said something along the lines of like, well, if you won't let me take you ice skating, why don't we go see the professionals do it? And I was like, oh, okay. And like he got us tickets to a Rangers game. And this is where I started to notice green flags. On our first date, we both ended up getting each other a gift based on conversations that we had. So we both listened to each other. Like he actually, I'll show you. I spoke about Coco, and I had told him that I had a green ball that I always kept in my foyer when I came home, and he got me this box and he put Coco on it. That was like his gift to me on our first date, okay, which was amazing. And another thing that really resonated with me was that I remember I had told him that I have anxiety. And when we went to the Ranger game, like it was in Madison Square Garden, it was crowded, and I had to use the restroom. And one of my things is like having to like walk in public alone and like feeling like people are watching me. So he walked me to the restroom, and like he don't hit the camera, Henrik. And he like walked with me. He waited for me to like use the restroom and like walk back. And it's like little things like that. Like you just you're it's like you're being seen. Does that make sense? So yeah, so those are just things that he does. Like he just goes out of his way to like make my life a little easier. And moving in together, so we were together for like a year. We actually moved in together on the weekend of our 1 year anniversary. And of course, when you move in with someone, you're like, oh shit, it's gonna be like, you don't know. Like, you have, yes, we would sleep over each other's homes and stuff, but you don't know how living together is going to be. And I'm not gonna lie, the first week or two was hard for me. And it wasn't about living together, it was about like my commute and like adjusting to it, because it's I went from like being able to walk to some of my classes or taking like a 30-minute bus ride to like now I have to walk like almost 2 miles to catch the bus. From the bus that I take in the Bronx, it takes me into Queens, and once I'm in Queens, I take different buses and trains based on where I have to teach that day. And the first week was so hard. I remember like being so upset, crying, because I felt so much stress. And it was also the stress of like, it's my new routine, having to figure out like the bus schedule, timing everything right. It was just a lot. And yeah, it was just a lot. And then I felt bad because I felt myself changing. And then I was like, shit, he's going to regret like living with me. And I felt, he said, I remember one time he said something like, I've seen you upset, but I don't want to be the cause of you being upset, because the reason I moved here is because we're closer to where he works, and it's just more convenient. And like we live in the same building where he lived. He had another apartment and this happened to open up, and it was like perfect. It worked out. I was able to like move in. It worked out the way it's supposed to work out. So, and he goes out of his way to like make dinner for us because he knows that I'm commuting so much, and he like cooks dinner, he cleans the house, like it's crazy. And like my mom always jokes like, do you do anything? And I'm like, shut up. I have to say though, the past did I just click this the past 2 weeks I was able to come home early because the kids were like on vacation, so I didn't have to teach at the after school program, so I was able to cook twice, and that makes me happy. What else? I think that's it. I guess the whole point of this is to do a little life update, let you guys know where I'm at, but also tell you that you don't have to settle. A red flag doesn't have to be like blaring in your face to recognize it. You have to like pick up on the little things. Think of it like, remember Double Dare on Nickelodeon? Like you would have to get these little red flags to win. Like look at those little red flags, like notice them, because it's not it could be a job, it could be a relationship. If it's not meant for you, it's not meant for you. And I always say in class, like, let go of something that you're gripping onto so tightly because you think that's your story, you think that's what you're supposed to have. But the longer you grip onto that, you're stopping something else from entering your life. If I would have gripped onto that relationship, I would have never met him. And like honestly, he um here's okay, we're not I'm gonna pause. So I mentioned that Zen had passed away. He passed away, and my niece said something that was like, I think he passed away now because he knows that you have someone to like take care of you. And it's true, because he came into my life, and I'm not saying I need someone to take care of me because I've been fine, but it's nice to have someone just do life with. Like I always joke, I'm like, I get to have a sleepover with my best friend, and it's the best thing. So, moral of the story, if it's not meant for you, let it go, because you are stopping blessings from entering your life. You're worth more than you may think. And yeah, that's it. God, this is a Monday morning ramble, so I'm gonna just take a sip of coffee. You might hear one of the boys meowing. Hold on. But yeah, that's it. All right, my loves, thank you so much for watching. Remember, avoid the red flags, look for the green flags. And yeah, namaste, my loves. Bye. The